Hey InstaFam, welcome to day 27, my final day of my month of self-care challenge. Tomorrow I am headed back to Arizona to teach some classes, do a certification for Bar Above in Gilbert, and get started on planning the rest of my year as a full-time entrepreneur. So a tiny bit wistful that it's my last day, but also at the same time, like I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to plan the rest of my year. I'm ready to get started on the projects that I have a renewed sense of excitement for. So I thought today I'd share a little bit of a wrap up, so it might be just a touch longer than my other check-ins, if that's okay. I wrote a few notes of just things I kind of journaled and reflected on today in regards to what this month of self-care has kind of brought up for me, and just some thoughts on what it did and like how I would do it again and what I think the impact is going to be going forward. So first of all, I will say that I grew in confidence as the experiment went on about claiming this time for myself. I was super triggered ahead of time to, one, even take the month, and two, really kind of advertise it, or not advertise it, but I guess like talk about it, like become transparent about it. I was so triggered about what people would think if I took a month off. And to some degree, that was true. I mean, there were a lot of comments of people that felt like, oh gosh, you're so lucky to be able to do that. And, I'm jealous. And that actually brought up a lot for me, because I guess it's, the inner story that I tell myself, that, I always want to be the hardest worker. I want to be seen as the hardest worker. And, the fact that I almost didn't do this experiment out of fear of what people would think, or just feeling like, oh my gosh, like that's too, like how dare she? Or that I wouldn't share with people out of, fear of either feelings that they may feel about me or resentment. But I'm glad I did. I stepped into that. And the more that I saw the benefit of taking some time off and how that could actually, help others who might feel inspired to do the same. And regardless, just the fact that I was feeling so much better and knew that it would be helping me in my business, I think really helped me grow like as a person and in my own confidence and in my own security. Because ultimately, I'm planning life on my terms, and that's what I want to be able to inspire other people to do. And I truly, at my core, believe that when you honor the natural inborn rhythms of your energy and productivity, that you get better work anyway. You get more creative, you have better ideas, and so you don't necessarily have to work as much, or even if you do find yourself with more energy, then you can go get more done. It's your choice how what you want to do with that extra time or that extra energy or that extra mojo. And all the research shows that. And I think we're at a place, well, I'm in a little bit of a bubble because I'm in the wellness industry. So you tell me if this may or may not be true, but I feel like we're in a space, like as a society, where we're starting to understand, at least conceptually, because the data is there, that when we focus on one thing at a time, when we take strategic breaks, when we downregulate our nervous system at times, that we come back stronger and we do better work. I think conceptually, our society is starting to understand that, but there's a disconnect between what we understand and what we're socially conditioned to do, particularly in the microcultures that we create, either in our own families or in our work environment, our businesses, our jobs. So I think there's just that disconnect, and sometimes it's more important to us, and I've been guilty of this as well, to look like we're busy, or to gain their respect, or so-called credibility of people believing that we're have a super strong work ethic because we never rest, than actually getting the best work done. So that was a huge breakthrough for me, is just kind of becoming more comfortable, or I should say more so desiring to have fresh energy and maximum productivity, and just want to show up in the best way in the world. That became more important to me over this experiment, than people's perception that I'm productive or perception that I'm a hard worker. I already know I'm a hard worker. I've proven that time and time again. I know I can get the darn thing done. But that's no longer the area in my life that I need work on. I don't think it was ever an area that I needed to work on. I've always been a hard worker. Now the area in my life that can help me up level and get the most out of my work and my life and my business is not working more. It's infusing my life with creativity and rest and honoring those natural energy systems and rhythms. So that was huge for me, right? Because like I said, I was so triggered by what people would think if I did this. That I almost didn't do it and I almost didn't share it. But I'm glad that now that I did both, because I got over a lot of that fear of people's perception. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here as well. I learned how to ask myself not just what I wanted to do, but how I was feeling and how I wanted to feel. And I've heard this come up in a lot of circles, especially a lot of kind of personal development and spiritual circles. I think Danielle LaPorte, who I know a lot of people love Danielle LaPorte. Some of her work I love. But anyway, one thing I think that she's famous for, and I can't say that she's the originator of it, but is asking the question, how do you feel, or how do I want to feel? Because we're so good with what do we want to accomplish? What are our goals? But if we take it a layer deeper and ask, well, how do we want to feel? Then that just illuminates a lot. If you get all this done and you meet your goals, so what? If you're exhausted and depleted and unhappy and can't enjoy it, then what's the point? Right. So I got a little bit more in touch, not perfectly, because I still, I would get on frenzies of DIY projects and cooking and meal batching and blah, blah, blah. So I would still kind of have to counteract those tendencies to just I'll just push through and then I'll do all this for future rest. I'm no, this is literally the rest period. So I would ask myself how I did feel. When you put your nose to the grindstone and you just are focused on, getting all the things done, which there's a time and a place for that. I'm not saying there's not. But when that's, continuous and chronic and year after year, you get out of touch with even, your feelings even mattering. And yes, feelings come and go. And sometimes 100% we want to do things that we don't feel like doing because they will yield a later result that we do want to have. But ultimately, if you're not enjoying any of it, then why the hell do any of it? So I've gotten a little bit better. I still have a lot more work to do, but a little bit better of asking, how do I feel and how do I want to feel? I think Miracle Morning is another kind of advocate of asking in the morning, how do I want to feel today as you're setting your morning affirmations. So that's big, right? That's big. I'm going to glance at my notes again. I invested in my future self-care, which is no surprise because even my downtime was often productive. And in some ways it was a bit of a struggle because I wanted, there was just so much that had kind of been neglected in my personal life, in regards to spending time with my husband, in regards to taking care of the house. He had done really kind of all the work on, cleaning and just the daily chores and responsibilities while I was hustling for so long. And now that he is working on his PhD and the CEO of the hospital, that mantle is now getting ready to come to me, which is awesome. I'm so grateful to have a partner who really shares kind of equal responsibility and we each value, both the ambiance and environment of our home, but we also both value, our work and how we contribute to the world. So super glad and super joyful to be able to step into that role after he carried it on for a while. And then sometimes, of course, as I mentioned, I can go too far with it and just create more stress on having to have the perfect meal plan or the perfect DIY project. But there is truth to the fact that sometimes self-care means more discipline and control and getting organized so that you can have that calm feeling later. When my house is organized, I feel calm. When I have, several weeks worth of dinners batched that are healthy and nutritious and are all in the freezer and I don't have to worry about what to cook at night, when I invest in that, then I feel less stressed later on. So it does come back to that later feeling, right? So I invested in my future self-care. I studied a little bit of herbalism, which I had mentioned, I think, earlier on, that I was getting interested in, trying a couple of remedies for some own ailments that I have, and just kind of learning how to take care of both, my family, my dogs, my husband, and just learn a little bit more about how to naturally protect yourself, either preventive or kind of easy frontline defense for with herbal remedies. So that was fun. And then also hopefully an investment in my future self-care and even current, because some of those benefits are starting to kick in now as I'm trying some of those remedies. And home beautification projects. Got some things done at our Arizona house that make me feel really good. Again, ambiance, I think environment is so critical, especially if you work from home. But even if you don't, you want that home to be a respite and a sanctuary from where you do work. So that's super important. So I was able to invest a little bit in my self-care. Things that I might try next time, kind of tying in with that, I think if I work, which first of all, I think I will want in the future to take another, whether it's a month off or an extended period off. I don't think it's a one and done thing. I think it's a really good habit to get into, either on an annual basis or, I'll figure out the rhythm that works for me. But I think in the future, I might designate different times then to invest in kind of the future self-care, like the projects, the systems, the organization, the cooking and meal batching. I had kind of fallen off the meal batching wagon, prior to this, just because I literally didn't have days off at all. Got home after working 14 hours. So I wasn't really able to batch the way that I like to. And so that was just a product, that just was the way it was. Like I wanted to get some of those things done. I will be glad now that I'm, going to be back into a not normal work schedule because I'm creating it for myself, but I'll be working a lot still on the projects that I have coming up. It'll feel good to have all that done. But in the future, maybe I get to designate different times to do that, or I just stay on top of it. It's built into my, weekly and monthly ongoing schedule, so I don't have to catch up once a year. So I think in the future that I could really decompress even more and not just transfer that work ethic or that sympathetic nervous system to my personal life, but take a break from all of it, which I think would be great. But that's fine. This is what this month was for. And the more you learn, you just, you can try it and then upgrade and then try it and then upgrade. So, that's that. I think I might also next time, maybe, not 100% sold, but I may consider scheduling more things. I was very unscheduled, which was good because I think that's just what I needed. But sometimes, having an open-ended schedule and too much freedom can sometimes put too much of a demand on your energy and on your brain's decision-making power, because you constantly have to answer the question, what should I do? What should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Even if it's simple things like, should I go for a walk or should I go to the gym? When you don't have that structure, it actually creates almost a lot of stress, figuring out what to do. So I might do that. I might be a little bit more social. I was pretty antisocial. I did get together with a few friends, and then spent more time with my husband, which was awesome. So obviously, more time with husband. But maybe next time I could stand to be a little bit more social or have more planned experiences. Now we have some savings goals. We have an adoption we're saving for. So I was kind of conservative on, spending, obviously if I had a month, at a spa all day, every day, I could have probably relaxed even more. And while I did spend a little bit of time at the Savannah Spa, and we had, the weekend at Savannah, that was pretty much it in terms of kind of spending on my self-care or pampering. So next time, of course, just goals, as I'm upgrading and up-leveling, then I might invest a little bit more in, more healing modalities, like getting acupuncture or any number of natural healing treatments that I've, or just experiences, like nurturing, life-giving experiences that I was a little bit more budget conscious of this time around. So it's exciting, not to say that I did anything bad or wrong or should have done it different, but it's exciting now to kind of build and upgrade and up-level from here. Just some things to think about. And then ways I'm going to take it with me. So I think one of the biggest takeaways from this month off is that I no longer feel this demanding pressure to schedule myself for 12, 14, 16-hour days in my business, because I don't necessarily think that is going to be the key that unlocks my success. I've been putting in tons of hours for years, and I think now my business needs my creativity and my freshness and my vitality and my energy more than it needs my hustle. And I'm a big fan of delegating and outsourcing. So, I'll be hiring virtual assistants and, things like that, just slowly as my budget grows. But to kind of manage that energy, because I'm good. I'm already good with putting in those long hours. And that's why I think, we can get so caught up, especially for those of us who are kind of entrepreneurs or have a lot of freedom within our jobs to build our own kind of structure, our own schedule, our own architecture. We can put enormous pressure on ourselves, okay, I'm going to do more, I'm going to do more, I'm going to do more. When most of it, if you're like me, I assume if you're, hanging out with me here online, that you're kind of like me. Working harder is probably not something you need help with. It's probably not an area that you struggle with. Working less is probably where you actually need more accountability and more goal setting. So I think if anything else, I'm going to try to set more goals around doing less, more goals around drawing boundaries with my time so that I can refresh and energize myself, which is the thing that's most been missing from kind of my work cadence, if that makes sense. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm also excited that the time I spent over the past month has shaped, how I will go into the rest of the year. It was not just a break and now go back to the way things were. These breaks are intentional. They're very purposeful. They help us shape and shift our priorities, our projects. They give us new insights. So this wasn't just okay, I'm going to go escape and then get back to the real world. Now, part of that, of course, is I'm getting to architect my own work day now, a little bit more freely than I did before when I obviously was employed full-time. So that's a new element, but I think even overall, that's something that we just want to keep in mind conceptually with these rests and these resets, is that they are not just meant to serve as an escape, but they actually shift how you create your future. The whole term recreation is to recreate. So it's not just an escape. It's actually pivotal to then, shape and direct. And I've actually been practicing that on a small scale with all of my past quarterly planning retreats. So about every quarter, sometimes every 4 months, the worst case scenario, every 6. For about 4 years, I've done a planning retreat. So either quarterly or semi-annually. And I've always prefaced it with some self-care or peppered it in. I haven't planned my goals. So every quarter I set goals in my professional life, in my business, in my marriage, in my health, my personal development. And I purposefully don't set those goals until I've had a disconnect. So maybe that's in other circumstances, a half a day to, sit in the hot tub and, go for a hike or something. But I hold off on making those goals until I have rested, because I know that rest is going to infuse new creativity and new ideas. So these resets, if you think of them not so much as an escape, but really as a critical part of your business plan or your business model, where they are fueling your future efforts and helping you decide, your path in the world, I think can be really, really helpful. So I'll try to wrap this up. I know this is a lot longer than normal, so if anyone watches this straight through, thank you. That means the world to me. So what can you expect next from Wealthy Boss? Well, this year is going to be a big focus when it comes to kind of programs and my business model, a big focus on fitness. So kind of getting into certifications. As many of you know, I'm a partner with Xavier Fitness, so I do certifications for Bar Above, and Balaton is starting here in a couple of weeks here in San Diego. So I have a ton of certifications scheduled. I've got tons in Phoenix area. I've got San Diego, kind of Eaton, Fort Collins area, Colorado, Boise, Idaho, where else? Cincinnati. I've got several coming up. So if you're at all interested in becoming a Bar Above or Balaton instructor, super fun. It's just a one-day certification. So I've got a pretty heavy travel schedule with that. I will be diving into, probably by spring or summer, some more immersive online fitness programs for those who want to work out. So of course bar and yoga, and putting together some kind of reset programs and challenges. So that's something that, from a business model, I'll be diving pretty deep into the fitness side of things. But if you've hung out with me at all for a while, you know that I love all things wellness, and fitness is just one component to that. So as a result of that, you'll see me more actively on social media. I will be kind of popping in a lot more regularly to Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest. Those are the platforms primarily that I'll be hanging out on. And with that, I'm kind of debating what my content schedule will be. I have not yet decided to jump back into podcasting or blogging. It's a possibility, not right off the bat, as I want to set my priorities in alignment. But I am digging this Instagram Live. So one thing I am thinking about is showing up on a much more regular basis, like I've been doing this during this month of self-care experiment for all of you. So let me know what topics, if you'd like me to do mini trainings on here. I used to do that through obviously podcasting and Facebook Lives and Periscope when Periscope was a thing. And it's something I really enjoy. So I would love for you to send me a direct message if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing, and if you have any specific topics. So in social media, I'll kind of continue the conversation of elevating wellness beyond just fitness, looking at everything from alternative healing to psychology and spirituality, and all of the different paths that can help us be happier and just feel better and have more energy and show up in the way that we want to show up. So that's what you can expect from me. I am also in the exploratory stages that perhaps by the end of the year, putting together an online yoga teacher training program. So if you're interested in that, of course, let me know, because really I want to create what you need and what's helpful for you. That's why I'm here. So that is what you can expect from me. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please do let me know what you want to see more of, what I can help you with, and thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I am so excited to share it with you. Bye, everyone.